Hello, I'm Ted Ohashi, coming to you today from the Canadian Coal Conference in Vancouver, British Columbia. I'm pleased to have with me Milton Catelin, who is the CEO of the World Conference. Milton, tell us a little bit about, your talk today was really about how misunderstood your industry is. So why don't you tell us kind of the two or three ways in which you really think it's misunderstood and underappreciated?
Sure. Well, I think coal is misunderstood, firstly, because people tend to look at it only through a lens of global warming. Whereas I think coal provides a multidimensional aspect to society. It provides social development, economic development, and it also has an effect on global warming. But I don't think it's fair to look at coal just through the lens of global warming.
And coal is really a lot bigger than most people would recognize. It's a more important source of energy in the world than we know.
Well, that's right. Coal currently provides 30% of the world's primary energy. That's the highest figure since 1969. Generally, it provides around about 25% of world primary energy, and most years it provides 40% of the world's electricity, 70% of the world's steel and aluminium. It's quite an important fuel in the world, and this year, in fact, is the 13th year in a row in which coal consumption has grown.
And somebody told me earlier that, coal is about to overtake oil or something in terms of providing world energy. Is that true?
I think the great fear is if it overtakes oil, we might become a larger target. No, it could overtake oil. It could very well overtake oil. It's very important in terms of urbanization, economic development. It's very important to the two most fastest developing economies in the world, China and India. So it could overtake oil. The important thing is that it's really a very reliable source for baseload power. If you want to run a modern, effective economy that's full of growth and robust, you need large-scale power, baseload power, and that either comes from large-scale hydro or uranium or basically coal.
What are a couple of the major global trends that are taking place in your industry?
Well, of course, the industry is, like many other industries, is affected by the global financial crisis. So it's having to adjust its operations to a slowdown in GDP globally. But interestingly, even in this slowdown, coal grew last year by almost 3%. And as I say, it was the 13th year in a row of consecutive growth for the coal industry. But there are other mega trends. There's the urbanization of China. China apparently has an urbanization rate around about 50%. As compared with Canada, for example, or the United States or Australia of 80%.
And coal is a huge factor in China, isn't it?
Well, it is. It's not just for economic growth, but for poverty eradication. If you took China out of the equation, global poverty has actually got worse over the last 30 years. By including coal in the equation, by including China in the equation, you discover that 660 million Chinese have risen above the poverty level over the last 30 years.
We had a couple of bankers and investment people speaking, and to me, if an industry is as misunderstood and underappreciated as your industry, there's got to be opportunities on the investment side.
Well, I think there's tremendous opportunities. I think there's actually tremendous opportunities for Canadian coal producers. Canadian met coal is well above average in terms of quality. Thermal coal is better than most in the world. And you have port capacity at the moment to handle those exports, and you've got increasing port capacity. So I think some of the opportunities are right here in Canada.
Milton, thank you very much for spending some time with us today.
Thank you very much, Ted.